Paul talked a little bit about the widow's attitude and how she deals with being alone. And in the book of Ruth, we're looking at the first chapter. I want to deal with one aspect of Ruth. Found Judges. I'm close, aren't I? Get to Judges, you're real close to Ruth. All right. One of the reasons that Ruth is right next door to the Judges is because this period of time came from a period of the Judges. Many of us think that that period was the period of Gideon in Judges 6, 7, and 8 during Judge Gideon's reign as judge. I want us to focus on the first chapter, verses 19, 20, and 21, where Naomi describes her life as a widow. And it is so far out of touch with God. Now, she talks about God, but in a negative way. They don't talk about him in a positive way. And here's her whole approach to widowhood regarding her life in God. Ruth, in verse 18, Ruth has made a strong appeal to Naomi to go with her. Naomi has told both of the Moabite daughters-in-law to go back to their families, stay within their nation and culture, not go with her to Israel, that they would be foreigners, and Naomi thought they would be better served to stay there and let her go back. Ruth has made a strong appeal to stay with Naomi. I will go with you. Your God will be my God. Your people will be my people. I will live with you until you die. And Naomi is not able to convince her otherwise. So in verse 19, they both went until they came to Bethlehem, the original home of her husband. And it came about, when they came to Bethlehem, all the city was stirred because of them. And the women said, "Is this Naomi?" She said to them, "Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara," which means her name Naomi means pleasant. And her name Mara means bitter. And the only reason this is different is because she's chose it. She has chose another name. She has chose the name Mara to reflect who she is. I am Mara. I am bitter. And this is why. Why are you so bitter, Naomi? That's the word for. For the Almighty has dealt with me bitterly. The Lord very bitterly has dealt with me. Now listen. Now she's in words of extreme. She's into old man thinking, and she's using words of extreme. Notice the word, "Why do you call yourself bitter?" She explained, "I'm very bitter. I'm not just Mara. I'm very Mara." Okay? That's kind of like a clue for everybody that don't want to be around somebody that's very bitter to get away. I'm giving you a signal. I am very bitter. If you don't want to be around very bitter. So extreme words give people other clues. And so but watch these words of extreme, which shows where she has gone in her thinking. Look at the word full. I went out full. I came back empty. Except that's not what she said. She said, I went out full, but the Lord has brought me back empty. I went out full. The Lord brought me back empty. You know, she's got some problems there, hasn't she? If she went out full, the Lord sent her out full. If she came back empty, the Lord sent her. But that's not what she said. I went out full, but the Lord brought me back empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has witnessed against me, and the Almighty Shaddai, and the Almighty has afflicted me? So Naomi, she returned with Ruth, and then the story goes on. A great story between, and look, you know what this book should have been called? Naomi. But you know what it's called? Ruth. This should have been a story about a Jewish lady and her faith, not a Gentile lady and her faith. So be careful how you write your book. Okay? Be careful how you write your book. Today's lesson, I want to look at three things about the Mara widow. She created in herself a terrible place to live. Nobody created the Mara image. She created it herself. She created a state where nobody would want to live. It is amazing to me that Ruth would choose to go off with this bitter old lady. She had a chance to go with the other lady, the other daughter-in-law. She had a chance to go with her back to the Moabite people. But Ruth came into that family empty and got full of the Lord. Naomi was empty, spiritually empty, when she met this family, and this family brought her to Christ. She's a new convert in this story. And she's full of the Lord. And this is a great book about Ruth, full of the Lord. When this story ends up, she's a baby full of the Lord. And when this, listen, when this book ends, she's still full of the Lord. What a great witness. God was sure impressed to name a book after this lady. Not only did he name a book after this Moabite Gentile, but he put her in the genealogy in Matthew, the 1st chapter, verse 5, as one of two Gentile women in the lineage of Jesus Christ. She's the great-grandmother. She's going to become the great-grandmother of King David. That's how this book ends. This is a great story. The sad part of it is Naomi, the sadness of the book. But look, Ruth is going to help Naomi get back into a better state of mind with the Lord. We all need somebody, don't we? We all need somebody spiritually to help us and coach us at different periods of our life to stay with the Lord. Ruth was that kind of a person with Naomi. This story takes place, I believe, in Gideon's reign. And the Israelites were under what's called the fourth oppression of the Midianites. They were being disciplined by the Lord, and Gideon had the responsibility to bring the people back to the Lord. And when Naomi and her family leave, they are under great oppression by the Gideons. They're living in caves. These Midianites were not strong enough to conquer the people. They sent guerrilla warfare in there. They were not a nation as strong as Israel to fight them with a military. We're fighting it with ISIS. They strike, hit, and leave. Strike, hit, and leave, or send people in that just absolutely destroy themselves. And this is kind of warfare that they were fighting against the Midianites. This is called the fourth oppression of the Midianites. Listen to me. Naomi and her family left the geographical will of God, the promised land, because of the oppression, left them and went to Moab. They went to a foreign nation. They went because they were suffering under the cycle of divine discipline. And their children were suffering the discipline. Her two sons were sickly because of the discipline. And they were about to lose a lot of what they had built up in their war chest, so to speak, in their investments. And so they were in a good place to leave until things got better. That's what she means when she says she left full. So I want to talk about this. They were suffering famine, sickness, all the things that go with divine discipline on the priest nation of Israel. You can read about it in the book of Judges. Here's my first point out of 3. This story opens with Naomi being absolute destitute. This is what Paul was talking about when he said desolate, left alone. She has lost her husband, her 2 sons, with no heirs. They had no children. Her children died, her husband died, and her 2 married sons had no kids. And this is the state that she's in when she is left destitute, an elderly widow, not able to remarry and have kids. That's what she tells us in her story. Listen to me. Listen. Is it? Now she's lost her husband. They've lost their finances. By the time she's ready to go home, they've spent everything. She says, I'm alone. How is it possible you're alone? I've lost my husband. I've lost my boys. We've lost our income. I've lost everything. She says, I'm alone. And she believes in her heart that she's alone. And she's wrong. She's 100% wrong. And I'm not talking because of Ruth, because she told Ruth to go back. You are never alone. Listen to me now. Listen to me carefully. All she lost were details of life. What she had not lost, that she said she lost, was the Lord, who is the source of life and everything about it. When she lost the details of life, she threw God in this same group and said, I've lost everything. Listen, you could have everything and lose the Lord and have nothing. You can lose all your details of life and have the Lord and have everything. Don't let the devil lie to you and tell you because you've lost your details of life, a husband, kids, things that God can replace, a house, income, whatever it is, health. Listen, you got God, all that stuff to be replaced. How do I know? I read the story of Job. I read the last page, right? It's kind of a student I was anyhow. Introduction and last. I read the end of the story. I always read the end of the story to see the rest of it was worth reading carefully or just flash through it. I know. I'm not suggesting that kind of behavior. Okay? You don't want to wind up like me. You are never alone. You know why? Hebrews 13:5. Here's what you don't know about Hebrews 13:5. Hebrews 13:5. Oh, you know what Hebrews 13:5 says. I will never what? Leave you nor... You know what he says? He says never and ever. I will never leave you. I will never leave you. I will never forsake you, nor will I ever leave you. I will never, I'll get it right in a minute. I will never forsake you. No, I will never leave you, nor ever, never, ever. Don't we like those? Never, ever. God is the source. Everything else are details in your life. Naked you came in, naked you leave. Right? That tells you the story. I know just the thought of being naked and leaving is not a good idea, but that's what Job said. I never walked up to a casket and saw it naked, but I don't know what he's talking about. Well, of course I do. All right. Naomi, listen, Naomi here, she's alone. She's alone. Naomi hears, 6 o'clock news, she hears that Israel is no longer under discipline, that they've been restored. So she goes home. Listen, you never leave the directive will of God because things are tough where they are. You never leave the... Listen, people leave their marriage, they leave their families, they leave their businesses, they leave all kinds of things that they shouldn't leave because it's the directive will of God. The directive will of God always has a geographical right place, a mental state, and an operational idea. You never give that up. Just because things get tough, listen, God is able. God is still the God of Romans 4:21. God is able. Naomi hears, and so since things are good, she goes back home. And this is the story of Ruth, the first chapter, 5 through 7. I love Ruth, a new convert. Here's what she says to Naomi when Naomi says, "Stay, don't come back with me." She says, "Do not urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. For where you go, I go. Where you lodge, I lodge. Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. When you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. Thus may the Lord do to me, and worse, if anything but death parts you and me." Boy, there's an honor. That's a young convert talking to an old spiritual mature convert who has chosen to lose her way. Who has chosen to lose her way. We learned that Ruth's response was divine viewpoint thinking in dealing with a widow of a family. We've just studied it in the first hour. This new baby believer is learning what this old mature believer has chosen to forget. There's a doctrinal principle for me. Categorical Bible doctrine, how to deal with widows. Residing and functioning by the faith cycle gives the capacity to stay preoccupied with the divine source no matter what the circumstances of the details of life. There's no way you're going to get through this life without being challenged with that principle. There's no way. In fact, if you live long enough for Christ, you'll be challenged in this principle many times. Because details of life are temporal. When you read the book of Ecclesiastes, it's like chasing the wind. In spite of Ruth's spiritual optimism, and boy is she ever, Naomi returns home Mara bitter. "Don't call me Naomi. I am very bitter." Listen, not only that, but she is unthankful for Ruth. She has no appreciation for this wonderful girl called Ruth until the end of the story. You know why? Because she don't have a heart for God. Ruth is speaking the heart of God to her, and she don't have a heart for God. She doesn't have any appreciation for this wonderful lady. And listen, this wonderful Ruth, just loved her anyhow. It's going to take a couple of chapters for Naomi to get back in stride. She's a detail-oriented believer. She's got to have some details in her life before she sees that God cares for her. Don't be that person. God cares for you because the Bible says so. He cares for you because Jesus died for you. How many times does He have to show you that you're His child and He loves you dearly? You don't have to have a popsicle for Him to prove it. He's already proved it. Naomi says some of the saddest words you'll hear from the mouth of a spiritual believer. She said, "The Almighty has dealt with me very bitterly." I mean, she is in a bad place in her soul. Now, I love Ruth for this because, listen, Ruth hears it and doesn't go like, Ruth just feels sad for her. This is one baby believing, taking care of a spiritual mature believer who has chosen to be bitter towards God in life. There's a lesson for people like me. Because Naomi, she would drive me nuts. Every day get up and bellyache about God. You sit down to breakfast, let's have a word of prayer. Well, pray yourself. I don't see what God's done for me. All right. Then I have to come back to lunch. Let me have a word of prayer. Well, go ahead and have your prayer if you want to. I don't see anything God does nothing for me today. Ruth is quite a girl. Quite a girl. Naomi has been an enormous challenge to me. Doctrinal principle. This is how Naomi got in trouble. Now you listen to me. This is a principle I keep giving to you. You don't write it down. You forget it. And you live this principle more than you can imagine. False assumptions lead to false interpretations that lead to false expectations that lead to false application. Everything that Naomi is speaking from her mouth is a lie. Now the reality is she has lost a lot of things, but she hasn't lost the most important thing. Come on now. Or maybe you agree with Naomi? What do I know? You shouldn't. So what's got to happen? Listen to me. Naomi has got to change the way she believes. The object of her faith is not scriptural. It's worldly. It's what I call worldly and squirrely. It's not biblical. This is old man cosmos diabolicus thinking. And this belief system in her has got to change, or her life behavior will never change. This is all based on what she believes. And she believes a lie, not the truth, because she's thrown the Bible out with God. When she says God has dealt bitterly with me, she's done with that book. She's done with that book. When she's done with the author, she's done with the book. What a tragic day this is going to be in her life. You think things are going to get better, Naomi, to spit at God? What is wrong with you? Well, old man divine viewpoint thinking. She's bought into worldly thinking. The second thing, when you're dealing with people who are like Naomi, you listen to words of extreme, and you know how deep they are in their mess. Words of extreme show you how deep in their mess they've gotten. Are you listening to me? Words of extreme. He hasn't just dealt badly with me. He's dealt very bitterly with me. You understand how deep that is? I mean, we're at the end of the well. When she uses words like full and empty, these are words of extreme. You always listen to people. When they come to you and they have burdens heart, you listen to extreme words to know how deep they are into something. Listen to me. How much time and patience is going to require to get them back to where they ought to be with God? Listen to you people out here that have the gift of mercy, that have the gift of exhortation, that have the gift of teaching. You need to listen to this. These are the people that come to you. These are the hurting people of the Church of Jesus Christ out here in the community that drop by and have a cup of coffee with you and throw up their life story. And you listen to the words of extreme, because then it tells you how deep they are engaged in it and how much time it's going to take to. This is not going to be a one-day deal. It's going to take months. Listen, these words of extreme give you a clue how far she's floated away from the will of God, how far out into Thule she is from the plan of God. Words of extreme. Words of extreme. I went out full. The Lord brought me back empty. See, those are extremes. Why? Because I heard the big I. Guy told me the other day he had a conference with his kids. He said, don't you scream one more time at me through your email. Is that not another world? I went, what? Yeah, he said they were putting everything in caps. Who knew? Apparently people have been writing me nasty letters and I didn't know it. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. I thought that was the most funny thing I ever heard. Got after his kids because they were hollering. I went, how'd they do that? I need to know that. We live in a different world, don't we? I live in a different world than that. Listen to reality. Listen to how she's bought into lies. Listen to me. Here's some questions. How is it possible to leave full and leave behind everybody else empty? Everybody, listen, everybody was in the same strait. They were all under discipline, all under sickness, all under hardship. She got out of Dodge. Well, she still had something to carry out. How was it possible that she could leave full and everybody else would be left behind empty? And how is it possible for her to return empty and everybody else that was left behind to be full? She went home because they were full and she was empty. How is this possible? It isn't. She's wacko. You see why I never get a second counseling session? That's it. One counseling session, we're done. They go to Al. Listen, she fled what Gideon and everybody else in her community stayed and fought for their lives. You understand that, don't you? She certainly wasn't the only one who suffered great loss during these years. They were at war. Yet she speaks to these people who were left behind as if she was the only one who had ever suffered during these years. See, these are words of extreme. One of the great passages in my life in the last couple years, I just live off from this passage, this verse, Galatians 2:20. And here's what it says to me. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. And do you know why that's possible? Listen to what he said. This is possible because I have been, listen, this belief is possible in my life because I have been crucified with Christ. This Christ lives in me. Therefore, the life that I now live, do you understand that? Is Christ. If you're not willing to get, see, I took the second part first. See, but what leads to me, I no longer live, but Christ lives in me. How does that get to that place in my life where I believe that's a lifestyle? It's because I have been willing to be crucified with Christ so that Christ can live in me. If you're not willing to do the first part, you will never get the second part where it's comfortable clothes to live in. This life which I now live, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. See, that's everything. When I got that, when I got all of that in the right order and understood what was required of me in order to get this, that was an enormous breakthrough in my life. She is disoriented to the doctrine of suffering in the Christian life. She doesn't understand. She's heard it, but she doesn't buy into it anymore. Self-induced misery, divine discipline, undeserved suffering. She don't buy into that anymore. Why? Because she's given up with God and threw her Bible away. Never give up on God, never throw your Bible away. You're going to be like Naomi. She's disoriented to the doctrine of suffering. Here's the lie. Here's her lie that she believes. She believes the Lord has put more on her than she can bear. That's what she believes. That's why she's very bitter towards God. She believes that the Lord has put more on her than she can bear. The Bible says God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will provide a way for you to escape, so that you are able to endure it. That's the truth. That's not what she believes. The truth is, Naomi, that the Lord has put more on you than you are willing to put on him. No, ha ha! Come on now. He says, I'll never put more on you than you can bear. And he didn't. He put as much on her that she was able, and she was unwilling to put it on him. He don't expect you. He expects you to put it. Listen, 1 Peter, I wrote on your paper, 1 Peter 5, 6, and 7. Therefore, humble, have this grace attitude. Not I, but him. Have this humble attitude. Therefore, humble yourselves under the mighty hand of God, that he may exalt you at the proper time, so that you can cast your anxieties on him, because he cares for you. You know, nobody cares for me like Jesus. We sing it, but we don't live it. Nobody cares for me like Jesus. That's true. You don't throw him away with the bathwater. You never do that. See, she's believed a lie. She has not accepted the truth. And she's not willing to at this point. She thinks she's lost everything, which is a false assumption, because she's not lost the source of everything. She's not lost the source of everything, which is God Almighty. What she has lost are the details of life that have become more important in her life than the source of life, God Almighty. You can lose all your details, and God can give them back to you even double-fold. He did with Job. Job writes that the Lord blessed the latter days of Job more than his beginning. Naomi. Then the women said to Naomi, blessed is the Lord who has not left you without a redeemer today, and may his name become famous in Israel. You know what happened? Boaz married Ruth, and they had Obed, who was in the lineage of King David and Christ. Naomi, why don't you trust God? He has a better plan than your life. Your little old plan you got is so screwy, Naomi. The plan you have set out for your life is so screwy. Give that plan away and live the plan of God. Live the plan of God. He's got such a... Listen. Now listen to me. Throw your birthday stuff away. Throw your birthday. Well, you know, throw that stuff away. Listen, I don't care what age you are, and I don't care where you are in your life. Listen to me now. Listen carefully. Your better days are before you, not behind you. Your better days in Christ are ahead of you. I'll tell you why. Because you're going to die and go to heaven. And everything in between that on earth is better. He's got more ministry. He's got more everything for you. Your better days, I don't care if you're 90. Listen, he didn't even start to use Moses until he was 80. He couldn't. He was too full of Moses. Listen, Job said these words. I love what Job said. Job said, now he didn't realize how prophetic he was. Here's what Job said. Job said, the words I'm about to speak to you should be written in a book and should be engraved on a tombstone. Here are the words. As for me, I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will take his stand on earth. Come on, Naomi. Let's sing a song, Naomi. Let's just sing this one, Naomi. Jesus loves me. This I know. For the Bible, sweetheart, tells us so. Little ones or old ones. Let's pray. Father, we're so thankful today for your love and mercy and grace. We're so thankful, Father, that you're the source of life, both in time and eternity, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Oh, Father, I feel so bad for Naomi. The end of the story is good. She was still detailed-oriented. That's why the book is called Ruth. What a wonderful believer God. Came into the Christian faith in a family that was all screwy. But before they all fell off into carnality, this family gave her Christ and gave her a basic training in the faith. And that's all she needed because she found God. What a great story. What a great lady. I'm happy to report, Father, that Naomi turned it around. Wasn't easy, but she had a good coach in Ruth. And Ruth married a great guy, a real spiritual person. Not that flashy guy in the community. Not that flashy guy. This steady, good, solid rock of a man in God. How smart she was to find a godly man that could lead her spiritually. I pray for that for our church and for our young women and our older women that still have a desire to be married. May they look for that godly man, that Boaz, that will take care of her and all of the others in need. He took Ruth and Naomi. Naomi just, we thank you for that in Jesus' name.